So Radhe Radhe. Okay, Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Hope you are doing great and having a good start to your day. So let's get started by invoking the blessings of God and Guru like we always do. So let me share my screen and we will get underway. Are you able to see it? Okay, great. Okay, so let's get started. You can recite it at your place. Okay, these are our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. All right. So again, good morning, good evening to all of you. Let's get underway. So today we are going to talk about, in the sequence we are going, chapter 4th, verse 4. It's a very innocuous query, not innocuous, I mean straightforward query from Arjun, but we will take this opportunity to go into the concept of beginning and time, like we often do. The discussion on this shloka, because it's a straightforward question from Arjun, but we'll take this opportunity to touch upon some concepts around the beginning of creation, Big Bang, and all those concepts that we get introduced to early on in life. How did this creation come about? And we'll look at it from a scriptural lens, a Shastra Chakshu, so to say. So I will recite it and you're welcome to follow along. Arjun Uvacha Aparam Bhavato Janma Param Janma Vivasvataha Katham Etat Vijaniyam Tamado Proktavati Vaniti. All right, do we have any volunteers?
Yes, Shri Ramya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Shri Ramya, see Swadrat as well, one of our youngest participants. Go ahead, please.
Arjuna Vacha Aparam Bhavato Janma Aparam Bhavato Janma Param Janma Vivasvataha Katam Etat Vijaniyam Tvam Adav Proktavan Iti. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Wonderful. Thank you, Swadrut. Very nice. Well done.
Awesome.
All right.
Arnima T and Nivan, Radhe Radhe.
All right. Let's see what Nivan does.
I think Nivan did that by mistake, Sandesh. You can carry on.
Okay, no worries. Let's move on. No pranks. Okay. Let's move on quickly.
Rahul ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Arjun Uvacha Aparam Bhavato Janmaha Param Janma Vivasvataha Kathmetad Idad Vijaniyam Tvamado Proktavaniti. Radhe Radhe. Jai Shri Ram.
Rahul, Radhe Radhe.
Preeti ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go.
Preeti ji.
Radhe Radhe. Arjuna Uvacha Aparam Bhavato Janma Param Janma Vivasvataha
कथमेतद् विजानीयाम् त्वमादौ प्रोक्तवानिति. राधे राधे.
Wonderful, very nice, Preeti ji. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. Dinesh ji, Radhe Radhe, please go
Radhe
ahead.
Radhe, Dinesh ji. Please go ahead.
अर्जुन उवाच अपरं भवतो जन्म परं जन्म विवस्वतः कथमेतद् विजानीयाम् त्वमादौ प्रोक्तवानिति.
Wonderful, very nice, Dinesh ji. Radhe Radhe. Okay, we can
Shyam.
take the remaining hands real quick. Radhe Radhe, Shyam ji. Good
Radhe
morning.
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Arjun vacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvatah katham edat vijaniyam tavamado proktvaniti. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice. Thank you, Shyam ji. Radhe Radhe.
Meena ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe
Meena
everyone.
ji.
Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvatah katham etat vijaniyam tvam adau proktavaniti. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice, Meena ji. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Rupa ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe
Please.
Radhe everyone. Arjun uvacha apara bhavato janma param janma vivasvatah katham etat vijayaniyam tvam adau praktavanitah.
Proktavaniti. Thank you. No worries. All right. Let's take the remaining hands real quick and we'll freeze the number of hands for now. I think last 5 or 6 hands. So let's quickly do those.
Sure. Diva, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Arjun vacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvatah kathametad vijaniyam tvamadau proktavaniti.
Very nice,
Radhe.
Diva. Radhe Radhe. Thank you.
Okay, Arun ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Arjunuvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvatah katham etad vijaniyam tvam adau proktavaniti.
Very nice, Arunji. Radhe Radhe.
Okay,
Okay.
Lakshmi.
Last 4 hands. Lakshmi ji.
Radhe
Radhe everyone.
Lakshmi ji.
Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvatah katam etat vijaniyam tvam adau proktavaniti. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Lakshmi ji. Last 3 hands.
Ragi ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Pragi ji.
Yeah. Thank you, Radhe Radhe. Arjun uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvatah katham edat vijaniya tvamado proktavaniti.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ragi ji. Last 2.
Yes, Riya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Riya ji.
Radhe Radhe. Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvatah katam etad bijaniya tvamadau proktavaniti.
Very
Radhe
nice.
Radhe.
Thank you, Riya ji. Last but not the least, Sandhya and Prabhat. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Arjun uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvatah कथम् एतद् विजानीयाम् त्वमादौ प्रोक्तवान् इति.
Wonderful, very nice. So let's get started. In this shloka, Arjun is asking, now he's going in the chronological order, right? It's a very logical, common sense question that he knows Krishna is his cousin and he was born to Devaki and raised by Yashoda. And he's seeing that happen in his own life itself, right? The same Kal, around the same time. So he's asking, you were born much after Vivaswan, right? Now, think of it, Arjun is a proxy for all of us, okay? He knows that this question will come in people's mind that Krishna was born. Now he's saying, I imparted this knowledge first to the sun god. So he's asking this question. He's saying, you were born much after Vivaswan. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? Now he's asking a question very submissively that how am I to understand? It's a very logical question, right? He's not saying, are you kidding me? Okay, I have seen, I've heard about your birth here and not possible. No, he's not saying that. Okay, that is being skeptical or dismissing it like we do when we hear some knowledge from guru or something. No, this doesn't make sense. He's asking, how am I to understand? Very humbly and very submissively he's asking, which of course Lord Krishna is obliged to answer him, and he will answer him in great details. But for now, let's take this opportunity to understand the beginning, so to say, and what our scriptures say about it. Okay, so this is what we are going to talk about today. This Big Bang, this big. So is this creation a product of Big Bang? What is this concept of time? Who's Brahmaji and where does he fit into all this? Okay, so we'll try to tackle some of these questions in today and tomorrow's session, as well as bring in the unit of time. Today we will introduce the biggest unit of time. Tomorrow we'll introduce the smallest unit of time known to humankind. Okay. So let's move on this topic. So Arjun is puzzled on our behalf. By the way, Arjun is an Narayana avatar, so he's God realized. But God chooses instruments from time to time to impart this knowledge, and in this case, he has chosen Arjun and he's turned the key, planted that doubt in his mind, or he's playing along as part of this Leela to ask this question for our benefit. Okay, so he's asking this question. He's puzzled, apparently puzzled. And it is an incongruity of events, right? In Krishna's statement, the sun god has been present since almost the beginning of creation, while Sri Krishna has only recently been born in the world. He was born, we know, right, to Devaki. Now, if Krishna is the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, then his statement, he taught this science to Vivaswan, the sun god, appears inconsistent to Arjun, and he inquires about it. It's pretty inconsistent in that sense, right? So this question invites an exposition of the concept of divine descension of God that we are going to talk about. In 4.9, he's going to talk about his descension, which we briefly touched upon when we touched upon the topic of Who is God series, but we'll go in more detail as we approach that. In 4.9, he's going to talk about it, starting with that. So, and Lord Krishna is going to continue to respond to this question in the subsequent verses. What is the difference between him and God, between the souls and God, is what he's going to expound upon in the subsequent verses. For today, however, we will talk about this topic of beginning of creation, right? Beginning of creation, as per our understanding, and our understanding is basically aligns with the understanding of science at this point. It says that there was, a dense mass, and boom, an explosion happened, and that's how this creation started. And the principle of entropy says that everything is expanding, everything keeps on expanding. And even humans, we also keep on expanding, right? Bigger, better quest is going on even inside our mind always. So that is how this existence or the creation of the world to begin with is explained. Now let's look at this concept. Okay, try to reason it out today in our session. Okay, now here's a teacher he told this to a student, okay, that this is how the creation came about. And the student took it literally and he said, okay, let me play along with our teacher. And the teacher gave them an assignment to draw a map of the world. Okay, so this boy, this was assignment given to him, and this boy just started throwing out continents, and sprinkling stuff on top of them. And he put North America at South America and Europe and Asia and all that stuff, everything here and there. Until the teacher came and started checking, and he saw everybody had drawn the map of the world correctly as the geography teacher would have taught them. But somebody had messed it all up, put it all over the place, and pretty much played around with the entire geography of Earth. So he said, who has done that? So this guy raised his hand. He said, nobody did it. He said, what do you mean? He said, you know what? There was an explosion while you were away. There was an explosion in the class, and the paper came out and the pen came out and everything, just came about itself, and nobody basically did it. It all happened by itself. The teacher said, are you kidding me? He said, who started the joke? Basically, he didn't say that. He said, you wanted us to believe that this whole creation came with an explosion, while you yourself are not willing to believe this small thing which is created on this paper came through an explosion. So I think he was basically the point that he was trying to drive home, because he was a smart kid. Maybe he had attended Swamiji's sessions, or JK Yoga for that matter. He challenged that whole premise that science would have us believe as of today that this creation came through a bang from a condensed mass that was there. Right? He said, you want me to believe that you were teaching, and you are not willing to believe that the map which is created came by itself. So that is something similar happened with Newton as well, when he was unraveling the mysteries and all the laws around it, right? This if your solar system, if you look at it, how beautifully in rhythmic motion everything is moving. Just look at the beauty of this creation, the axis, the spin, the tilt, the mass, the distance, everything is perfect, from the sun and even the mass. If Earth's spin, mass, orbit, anything would change even by a slight thing, it would collapse into the sun. Even the velocity for that matter, right? The centripetal force that we talk about, that we have heard in physics, the mass, you change it and it will collapse. So this model, Newton was dabbling with this model, and he always used to bring, that divinity, something has created. His friend was very skeptical about it. He said, you go and we'll talk about it sometime later. And then he created a very small model like this. And his friend came back, he said, who created it? He said, you know what, there was an explosion that happened, and these all things fell in place, and they were set into motion in this particular way. So he said, friend, is it some kind of a joke? He said, that's precisely what I've been telling you. Okay, this thing cannot come about on its own, that too through an explosion. Because even logically speaking, when something explodes, it causes destruction. Implosion, it's not even an implosion, it's an explosion. Explosion causes destruction. Explosion does not create something as such, and create something as rhythmic, as beautiful, and as perfect as this creation. Even if you think logically, your common sense will compel you to believe that, cannot be there. Okay, so this is essentially what it is. And then if we take this argument a little further, of course, we are going to answer then, if not this, then what are you going to say? How did the creation come about? We'll come to that as well. So this is as good as, like Swamiji beautifully explains, you see a beautiful piece of literature in a library, and somebody asks you, how did it come about? And you say, you know what, there was a typewriter was there, and there was an explosion. The papers, A4 size papers, they fell into the typewriter all by themselves. And then automatically the typewriter swung into action, started typing the right alphabets, punctuations, grammar, and pretty much everything. And it started putting paper rim after rim, and then it created a beautiful book. It got packaged all by itself and placed itself nicely, stacked it up nicely. Okay, if somebody would say that it all happened through an explosion, then it's like taking your imagination a little too far, right? And that is essentially what Big Bang would have us believe. there is an apparent method in this madness. This, all these things that looks like happening completely out of control. Actually, there is a lot of method in this chaos. It's a properly managed chaos, because right from a micro element to a macro element, the God, it is said, a creation that we're going to talk about, God himself has permeated it. When he is himself permeated it, then this God becomes a veritable form of the God itself, Isha Vasyamidam, like this world is said, right? And if that is the case, it cannot be a sheer coincidence or an accident which is created out of an explosion itself. It is a result of a very well conceived, very well designed creation. Okay, so like the student challenged this teacher in the previous one, we need to challenge our thought process, because see, what happens is sometimes when we get exposed to some piece of knowledge, now then all of a sudden what happens is there comes a time pressure of exams, right? And you have to score marks, and that is what is believed in the circles, right, known to humankind as of now. And then that knowledge sticks, it never gets challenged. But when you start getting exposed to higher level of knowledge, if you start checking the premise of some of the stuff that you took on face value to begin with, your common sense will tell you that's not, there's something more to it. Then of course we have not answered the question. If not Big Bang, or this model came about through an explosion, like Newton said, it's taking your imagination a little too far. By the way, Newton, at the peak of his powers, when he was in, he discovered so many laws and all, he said, while I was busy playing with the pebbles, there lie an entire sea unexplored. That means he had the humility to understand that what he has understood is just not even a tip of an iceberg or what is there to be known. Okay, that humility the great scientists also develop when they reach the zenith or the pinnacle of their powers. They immediately understand that, what, this is something mind-blowing that we are trying to understand, and it goes much deeper and much broader than we can comprehend at this point. Okay. Einstein also gave some similar quotations there as well, right? He said, the more I learn, the more I realize how little I know, kind of a deal. All right, so let's now tackle the question, then where did this creation come about? If we are saying we are, this Big Bang is taking this argument a little further, that everything came about with an explosion or a bang, then there has to be a plausible explanation around how this creation came about. If it is a well-conceived, there's an architect behind it. So let's introduce the architect of this world now. Okay, moving on. Our scriptures say, bringing in pictures here. So let's talk about it. So I've spoken about this concept. I'll briefly touch upon it and bring in this concept again. A refresher always helps. So Krishna is known as Param Purush. Okay, you may call it by other name, but Bhagavatam calls him Krishna, and Krishna basically means all attractive. Now, if you don't want to call God all attractive, you may choose to call him any by another name, but Bhagavatam says his name is all attractive. Krishna is his name. You may get people call him Jehovah, Allah, and by any other name. But the fact is that his personal choice of name that is given to God in our scriptures is Krishna. Okay, he takes on different forms like Ram, Shiv, and even saints. He can descend on his saint as well, but let's refer to him as Krishna right now as per our scriptures, and he's referred to as Param Purush. Why Param Purush? Because everything else is Prakriti, which is a female. He puts a glance at Prakriti, and which impregnates the Prakriti. The Mahan Tattva comes, Ahankar Tattva comes, Panch Tanmatra comes, Panch Mahabhut come, and this whole creation starts to unfold just by his mere glance. Why by his mere glance? He doesn't even have to get up and do some work, because God is called Satya Sankalp. He thinks and it happens. Okay, and he's simply thinking and everything is unfolding. Right? We spoke about Mahavishnu, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well today. So he's Param Purush, and his planetary expansion is called Karno Dakshai Vishnu, which is Mahavishnu, who's known as the president of material universe, Pratham Purush. It is called a Pratham Purush. Through Pratham Purush comes a Dvitiya Purush, which is called Garbho Dakshai Vishnu, who's the creator. Okay? And then through him come Brahmaji, who's called a secondary creator. And then the planetary expansion of Garbho Dakshai Vishnu is Kshiro Dakshai Vishnu, which is called maintainer, the Tritiya Purush. which also resides in each one of us, known as the Paramatma. Right? When we spoke about three manifestations of God, the all-pervading Brahman, the localized version, the localized God, which is called Paramatma, which is a Kshirodakshay Vishnu, also called Paramatma. And the Brahma, who's a secondary creator. Each universe, like our universe, there are multiple universes, and each universe has its own Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankar. Okay, that is how expansive or large this whole creation is. And this cycle keeps on repeating in every universe. Now, Garbhodakshai, the most Dwapar avatars of, anyways, I don't need to touch that today. We are currently, I'll talk about that concept. So for now, you can just ignore it. So this is the material creation and it is infinite. Okay. So our Brahmaji, now this Brahmaji is a secondary creator. Now, who is Brahmaji? Brahmaji, you could be you and I as well. So God picks up her eligible soul to Jivatma, which is like us, to become Brahma. And there are times when there is no eligible soul to take on the position or the role of Brahma, because it's a very responsible job, right? He does creation. We'll look at it, how frequently he does that creation, and how the timeline or the lifeline of a Brahmaji, the total age of Brahmaji looks. So sometimes when he does not find a suitable soul or an eligible soul who has certain eligibility based on the merit that they have acquired through their karmas, then he himself takes on a role of a Brahma as well. Okay, so that is the role of a Brahma. God himself can assume a role of Brahma, or he can pick a Jivatma to become Brahma. And when then Jivatma completes their tenure, because it's a very responsible job, and he's known as one of the biggest, he's the biggest devotee of God, by the way, Brahmaji, because through devotion, that's how he starts the process of creation. God gives him his own abode, because he's done such a fantastic job, okay, as a Brahma. So typically Brahma, after he completes his tenure, becomes God realized. Okay, so that is the stature of Brahmaji. Now, talking about, now we have spoken about Big Bang. Let's look at the scale of time now. Okay, so this is how big the universe is. I mean, we have tried to do that. It may be just our universe alone. Now, from a universe standpoint, the cosmic egg, which is called Brahmand, it has three aspects. Every Brahmand has three aspects to it. What are those three aspects? The three aspects are Srishti, which is creation, then continuance, which is maintain, that's Sthiti, and then the third one is called dissolution, which is Lay. These three things are cyclical, that happens with every Brahmand. And it's like multiverses. Okay, our universe is owned by four-headed Brahma. And similarly, there are universes which we do not have any technology to reach out to as yet. They are created by multi-headed Brahmas. You know, they can have 10 heads, 50 heads, 100 heads, 1,000, million, billion, trillion. We don't even know that. Infinite heads. That is how big the creation is. And every universe has its own Brahma. Our Brahmaji is the Brahmaji with the least number of heads. East, west, north, south. I don't know what other dimensions are there in other universes that those Brahmajis has so many heads. So ours is the smallest universe. And all these Brahmajis that I spoke about, all the universes or the multiverses put together is only 1/4 of the entire creation. It's only 1/4 of the entire creation. And this 1/4 of the entire creation is only for the conditioned souls. It's like a prison house of God for the conditioned souls who do not want to attain God, who are happy in this material world, either in bhakti aspect, different levels of bhaktis, right? Enjoyments. You know, one could enjoy at some place in India, and then some could say, I want to go to Spain. Some would like to go to Hawaii, and somebody would make an aspiration to go to Mars, and somebody would say, I want to go to Swarglok, and then Taplok, Janaklok, and all the way up to Satyalok. There's no dearth of bhaktis available in this material universe, and that is just a prison house of God. So if we look at any city or any country, prison is a small part of it, right? Prison cannot exceed the whole city. Similarly, in this creation, God would have done a very terrible job if that was all there in this creation would have been, right? So this is just 1/4 of the creation. 3/4 is the spiritual abodes, which we are going to talk about in subsequent sessions, not today. but that goes beyond the material world. And in the material world, all the universes, they are subject to these three things: creation, continuance, and dissolution. Okay, this happens. This doesn't happen in the spiritual world. It sustains itself. It does not dissolute. So what does it mean basically? Let's look at it. These three aspects of creations are governed by Trinity, right? We have heard about God, what is called governor, operator, and destructor, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So each universe has its own. Okay, that is the definition of God as well. God, generate, governor, operator, and destructor, or generator, operator, and destructor. Now, Lord Brahma fulfills the role of creating the world of mobile and immobile creatures. Lord Vishnu sustains for a limit of time, and Lord Shiva, he annihilates. He's also known as Mahesh and Shankar as well, by the way. So this is the Trinity. And this Trinity exists for every universe. Every universe has its own set of Brahma, its own set of Vishnu, and its own set of Shankar. They are not one. They have the forms, multiple forms for every universe. Okay, there are infinite Brahmas, infinite Vishnus, and infinite Shankars. Okay, that itself is a concept in itself, right? Now let's go to the time part of it. Now there are pralays I spoke about. Pralay is like kind of a reset, right? Your computer needs a reset. We need a reset. We sleep. If we don't sleep, you ask people who are insomniacs how terrible their life is. Similarly, God resets this universe as well, each universe as well, this entire creation for that matter, the material creation. And what are this reset? 4 resets. There are 4 forms of pralays or dissolutions. They are enumerated in our Vedas. What are those? Nitya Pralay. First one is called Nitya Pralay. Every night when we fall into deep sleep, our consciousness goes through dissolution daily. When we sleep, that is also a Pralay. And in that one night of sleep, so many species, right? So many insects, they have lived so many lifetimes already. Same thing happens in Brahmaji's one day as well, which we are going to talk about, but that is also a Nitya Pralay when we sleep, right? When we are oblivious to the fact who we are. We don't even know who we are. And when we wake up, our reality comes into being. This is the person, this is what I need to do. This is the person I like, this is the person I hate, this is what I want to do. All that starts manifesting when we wake up. So the first kind of pralay is called a Nitya Pralay that we all experience as well. Okay. The second pralay is called Naimittik Pralay, which is at the end of Brahma's day. Now, Brahmaji, for every universe, he also has a lifespan, 100 years. I'll talk about the day, the unit of time for Brahmaji. Okay, it's not like one day for us. It's much bigger than that. When I say much bigger, it's truly much bigger, okay, which we'll talk about. So at the end of Brahma's day, all the abodes up to Maharlok dissolute and the souls residing them become unmanifest. Now the entire material creation under that Brahmaji's domain, it becomes unmanifest at that point. And they remain in the suspended animation in the body of Vishnu, waiting for the next cycle of creation. When Brahmaji creates these lokas again, these souls are reborn based on their past karma. So all of us, we reside at the time of Pralay, reside in the womb of Mahodar of Mahavishnu. Okay. And with our causal bodies, which in turn has our past sanskars and the tendencies that we have, and of course the backlog of our karmas. And then when the manifestation happens again, which is science calls Big Bang. Okay, our scriptures say no, it is actually a very thought out process where then every soul gets into a particular womb, suitable womb, based on its causal body that it has, based on its past karmas. Okay, and this cycle happens every day of Brahmaji creates that. It's like he wakes up, creates toys, and then takes all the, wraps up all the toys every day. This is called the Naimittik Pralay. Then there is something called Mahapralay. This Mahapralay happens at the end of Brahmaji's life. How much is the Brahmaji's life? 100 years. We'll talk about. And these 100 years, they are pretty long time. Okay, we'll talk about Brahmaji's whole lifespan, what this means. Now, this entire universe goes into dissolution. Okay, not just the universe of Brahmaji at that own universe of Brahmaji at that point. Each Brahmaji has its own day. And then when the 100 years are completed, this entire universe, and then it becomes unmanifest. Then it goes into the body of Mahavishnu. Gross and subtle bodies, they dissolve, causal bodies, they remain. Anyway, the point here is it's another bigger level of dissolution that happens. One happens on one day of Brahma when he goes to sleep. Other one happens at the 100-year completion of Brahmaji, which is also called one breath of Mahavishnu. These are some mind-boggling numbers, but you'll get used to it. And then the last pralay is the pralay that we all need. We all need this pralay. Okay, that what we are all working towards. We are working towards this pralay by reading Bhagavad Gita and getting access to scriptures and doing devotion. What is this pralay? It is called Atyantik Pralay. This is dissolution from the clutches of Maya that has been binding souls since eternity. It takes place when the soul finally attains gods and liberated forever from the cycle of birth and death. This pralay is the quality pralay, where soul is beyond all this stuff and it will not be subject to Mahapralay, Nitya Pralay, and Naimittik Pralay. Okay, it has transcended all these pralays. Yes, Sandhya, you had a quick question?
So Atyantik Pralay is pursued by both the souls, the ones who achieve mukti as well as
That's
God.
right. Anybody who is liberated from the cycle of birth and death has actually attained Atyantik Pralay. Okay, so the definition, eligibility, or the key point here to note is they are liberated from the cycle of birth and death. That means they are not subject to these other three kinds of pralays at that point. And that includes mukti as well, of course.
And there is a question from Surender ji. How do we know existence of numerous set of Trinity?
How do we know the existence of numerous set of Trinity? We have to take the word of Shastra for now. In Krishna Leela, there's a Leela, and when Krishna avatar happened, Brahmaji came to meet Krishna. So Brahmaji, he said, tell Krishna, Brahmaji has come. So Krishna said, okay, let me put his knowledge to perspective. He said, ask him which Brahmaji. Brahmaji was like, okay, I'm the Brahmaji, and who else could be Brahmaji? And then he said, okay, call all the Brahmajis. And then Brahmaji saw that, he came, he had just had 4 heads. Another Brahmaji came, he had 10 heads and 20 heads and million and trillion heads. And then he realized, who God is. So even Brahmaji can, may not know the absolute truth. So for us, few things we will get to know only when we become God realized. For now, we have to take it on the face value. And there are Leelas to suggest that as well. In Krishna Leela, he has actually proven that by inviting all the Brahmas along with her. Similarly, we can go with that. If you have multiple Brahmajis, you can extrapolate that argument to say multiple Vishnus and Shivji. Otherwise, it will be too much work on one Vishnuji and one Shankarji, which anyway is God himself, right? He's doing his Leela there. Okay, so let's move on. Let's look at Brahmaji's day now, right? So the time, if you look at it, it starts when the pralay, the unmanifestation happens during dissolution, and when it becomes manifest again, Srishti happens. That is when the concept of time starts, not a big bang. And when Brahmaji comes, he does devotion, he gets the knowledge, and then he goes about doing the creation. That is what the cycle keeps on repeating. And when he goes to sleep every night, and we'll see how big his day and night are now, and then again, everything dissolves, and it is called Naimittik Pralay. And the Mahapralay, we will talk about 100 years of Brahmaji as well. So let's look at those calculations now. Okay, so these calculations, I've introduced this chart before as well. The biggest one is called Satyug, right, which is 1.7 million years. That is how big it goes. Then you have Treta, which is 432,000 less than that. 432,000 you subtract 864, you subtract 432, it becomes Kali Yuga. So ours is the shortest one. Okay, and it's good, it is the shortest one, right? You know what we have done in 2000 years itself. Ours is the shortest one. And you see the symptoms of Kali Yuga. People like to party, and you have avatars happening and all other things. And if you put together all these yugas, that is called one Mahayuga. So if you sum it up, it becomes 4.3 million years. And if you multiply it by 71, it is, Mahayugas, it is called one Manvantar. And when you multiply it by 14, it is called it is basically 1 day of Brahma, which is called Kalp, and the biggest unit of time known to mankind. Okay, this is 1 day of Brahma, not even night. Night is equally long. And we are currently by this definition and calculation, we are in the 7th Manvantar known as Vaivasvat Manvantar. And this 1 day of Brahma, when it finishes, when he goes to sleep, Naimittik Pralay happens. When he comes back, Again, he wakes up. Then this Big Bang, you can call it the Big Bang, right? Which is truly not a Big Bang. This whole creation comes about. It's a very well conceived creation. And architect is Brahmaji, and where does he get the knowledge? He gets it from God himself. So this is how the creation comes about. Now let's look at it a little more. The breath that will take your breath away. 100 years of Brahma, right? We said 100. Every Brahmaji lives for 100 years. And our Brahmaji in seventh Vivasvat Manvantar he's in 51st year. That means he celebrated his golden jubilee. I don't know how he would have celebrated it, okay? Candlelight or otherwise, but regardless. Now, he's in his 51st year. So 100 years of Brahma in our scriptures, it is equivalent to one breath of Mahavishnu. One breath of Mahavishnu. Okay, that is how it is. And when he completes that, then Mahapralaya happens. So Brahmaji's one breath, think of it. If he's doing pranayam, how many Mahapralayas would happen? Okay, one breath of Mahavishnu. That is mind-boggling calculations, right? So this whole universe merges into Karna Mahador of Mahavishnu, basically, and it is called Mahapralaya. There is no activity in Brahman. Everything ceases at that point, stillness. And after this, God chooses another Brahma. Okay, new Brahma, time for another Brahma. Your tenure is over. You become godless. I'll pick up another Jivatma, or I'll myself take on the form of a Brahma. This cycle keeps on repeating. Okay. So this is how the creation comes about. I know it's a little overwhelming and mind-boggling, but let's take it on a face value for now. So the new creator Brahma creates the entire universe with the inspiration of Supreme God. Okay. So in cosmic sense, our year does not stand for much, right? We are a blip. Right? Like it says, Zindagi Kshan Bhangur. Kshan Bhangur, it's truly Kshan Bhangur. Look at the cosmic sense, what it means, year, day of Brahma and stuff like that, right? I think Swamiji was telling a joke in yesterday's session only that a few cents in, from that sense would be millions and billions of dollars. So a devotee is very smart. He said, can you give me a penny? From a cosmic sense standpoint, and Brahmaji said, give me a couple of seconds. So you just imagine if one day of Brahma is that many number of years, 4.3 billion years, then few seconds of Brahma, how big it would be, right? So if you're asking a penny from God, God will say, give me a few seconds, okay? Or think about it, so how long it will take. So this is basically helps put time in perspective. And on a much smaller scale, see, even in our lives also, when we go to sleep, so many species have completed so many of their generations, right? So it's not a concept that, which is hard to fathom if you think about it. So many species, they complete so many of their life cycles. You go out on the street, so many insects, I don't know how many lifetimes they have completed while we were happily sleeping. Similarly, when Brahmaji sleeps, everything becomes unmanifest. He comes back to sleep, he creates all these toys. And we think our life is a big deal and it's going to continue and it's a long, long time. It's of course not. It's just a blip in cosmic sense. Okay. So with that, okay, so tomorrow we are going to talk about, I've introduced the biggest unit of time. I know I spoke a lot today. It is called Kalpa. Big Bang. Okay, it's good for our examination for now. But when you start getting access to the higher knowledge, let's understand. You'll still write, this is how the creation was created and aligned to Stephen Hawking's principle to clear your exams. But scripturally speaking, this is not how the creation was done. So you carry that higher understanding around it. And then tomorrow we will introduce the smallest unit of time as well. Okay. And what is the significance of time from a spiritual standpoint is what we are going to talk about, because we've introduced this concept of time, right? In Mahabharata, you saw that Main Kal Hu, the time is God himself. And God meets us in form of time at the time of death, right? That's when he said, your time is up. We don't understand the value of time. So we'll try to bring in a little bit of appreciation around it tomorrow. But any questions on what we have spoken about today so far?
Dayasini, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Dayasini.
Radhe Radhe. Actually, I do not have a question related to today's topic. I have a different question from Bhagavad Gita.
Right. As long as it helps move the discussion forward, please go ahead.
Okay. So, Krishna have mentioned that whatever spiritual, assets we make in this lifetime, it will be carried forward to the next lifetime. So whatever it is, like 1%, 2%, 50%, that doesn't matter. So just my question is that, is there a chance to downfall? Like from that, for example, if someone have already completed 90% in one, like
Understood.
accumulated, so is there a downfall? Is there a
It
chance
will
of
be
downfall?
understood your question. Yes, so basically, see, we have had infinite lifetimes, right? And we have bad sanskars, good sanskars, mixture of everything. At the same time, he's going to preserve your spiritual assets. Right? So spiritual assets would be protected regardless. But when your bad sanskars would come, you may not be able to use them so effectively, or those may become dormant or dormant at that point, right? So we still got to be careful. That is why revision of knowledge is important for us, so that when the bad sanskars come, we try harder. It's like trying to ride a bicycle uphill. Sometimes it's downhill, everything is easy peasy, just happening like a roll. But sometimes you may have to put in hard efforts. That doesn't mean you have lost your spiritual asset. That just means you have to try hard, because now you are, even though you're 99% there, that 1%, that one last lap could take you millions of years if you don't work hard. So until your journey is completed, you have to continue to keep to aligning to these principles and refreshing your knowledge. 99% will be preserved by Krishna. Whatever spiritual assets you build, he will ensure you'll have it. But that does not absolve you from the responsibility of continuing to make right choices at every moment. Okay. You may have an asset that will make it easy for you. But if your bad sanskars have come, that thing will become dormant at that point, right? You may, instead of jogging or instead of taking a car, you may start crawling at that time. And if you continue to crawl, thinking my bad sanskars, and you continue to make those choices, so it's downfall from that stance, it's a downfall. But when it comes to having those spiritual assets, that will always be preserved, and God will keep on giving it to you in every human birth. But we cannot be complacent because of that. Okay, we may have good assets, spiritual assets, but if we don't exercise our free will, on a day-to-day basis, then we may be not derailing, but slowing down our journey in that sense. So from that sense, I think I can map it to what we discussed today is, when we get the causal body, when the Mahapralaya happens, when we are residing in a dormant state in Mahodar of Mahavishnu, all the spiritual assets, sanskar, everything is there in unmanifest state. And when we get a suitable womb, then those will get manifested. We are given to us as a gift, right? Some people are born with a lot of spiritual sanskars, it just clicks to them right from the word go. And that is because God has given, and they have worked hard in their previous lifetimes to build those assets. And those assets are protected. It's a mercy of God, because if he wouldn't protect it for us, we are anyway on a suicidal mission. Okay, we will just mess up everything in every life. So he said, okay, whatever hard work you keep, I'll preserve it for you, but keep working hard. Don't think that, if you have built this asset, because if we are under, when it comes to God realization, it's 0-1. When it comes to being under Maya, it's 0-1. Either you are under Maya or you are above Maya. So if you are under Maya, even if it's 99.9% there, you are still under Maya. And don't underestimate Maya. You're still under the point. So we have to complete the journey. If we have not hit the other end, we cannot say, okay, the job is done. From 99.9 also, you can fall down. When I say fall down, that doesn't mean your spiritual assets will be snatched away. That means you could still take more than somebody who has built 1% assets, because that person might proceed faster than you, even at that point. So it's like a rabbit tortoise kind of a thing that can happen as well there. You cannot rest on your laurels, but continue to work hard. Okay, too much of an answer. I over-answered your question. Okay, what next?
There's one more question from Ashutosh ji. When we say Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, in this Brahma is Jivatma and Vishnu and Mahesh ji is God, or how it is?
That's right. Perfect. Brahmaji can also be a planetary expansion of God at times, but Brahmaji, you and I can become as well. Okay. Indra is after Brahmaji's post. He's also dissatisfied. He says, what? I'm just a king of, I want to be the king of, the Satyalok. So Brahmaji, you and I can become as well. But
it is,
Mahesh and Vishnu, we cannot become until we become God realized. Again, we become like them, we cannot become them. A Jivatma can become God-like when it becomes God realized. It cannot become God.
There is a comment from Surinder ji. Today's mind-boggling mathematics surely confirms Nitin Prabhu being surrounded by Himalayas of Dev Bhumi. Radhe Radhe.
I don't know if it's the Himalaya effect or not, but yes, I'm in Himachal and maybe some Dhauladar effect is happening as well. But it is all Swamiji's stuff, which is explained verbatim to you. So, yeah. Okay, I see a few more hands. Let's take those questions as well. By the way, I hope you're enjoying the retreat, West Coast retreat, and those mind-boggling lectures Swamiji is giving on Bhagavad Gita. And Preeti ji, I'm looking forward to your notes, by the way, on that from Otter. Thank you for that. And also the family camp, please sign up for that if you haven't so far. And okay, we'll get down to the announcements, but let's take a couple of questions and then we can make those announcements. We have time.
Shweta ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Nitin ji, Radhe Radhe everyone. I have a bunch of questions, Nitin ji. Number one is Mahavishnu is a permanent God, right? And from him emanates Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. That is question one. Second question is when we do Satyanarayana Puja, which kind of Vishnu we invoke? And third question is what is the difference between Krishna and Vishnu, or just for the sake of discussion, Mahavishnu, I know Vishnu has 4 arms, Krishna has 2 arms. So can you explain those? Thank you very much, Radhe Radhe.
I'll try it. Okay, the first question was Mahavishnu. Yes, if you look at it, Mahavishnu, he is the president of the material universe, right? And he's a plenary expansion of Krishna himself. Now you're saying what is the difference between the Lakshmi Narayan part? I'll get later because I'm myself not too clear about it, but I'll give it a shot nevertheless. Now the difference between Vishnu and Krishna, if you look at it in this particular slide, most Dwapar avatars come from Vishnu. So God does a lot of these things, okay? So his own expansion is Mahavishnu, and then he'll come as a Mahavishnu avatar again. Okay, so most of the Dwapar avatars of Krishna happens through Mahavishnu. Like we say, Lord Ram is Vishnu's avatar, Lord Krishna is Vishnu's avatar. That is correct. Most of the avatars, they happen through Mahavishnu only. But at times, God takes an original avatar also. Like it is said that the avatar that happens in the 7th month, 24th Chaturyug, is Swam Krishna avatar 5,000 years back. So he could take an avatar as a Golok Vrindavan Vihari, or he could take it through his own planetary expansion Vishnu. It's his own game. Okay, only he knows why he chooses to do it a certain way. The bottom line is they are not separate entities. They are all the same entities. It's the same father assuming different roles. Vishnu is an official form of God, right? We spoke about this in our previous sessions, that father is the father. Now, father, when he is in office, he may assume a role of a judge who's pronouncing judgments against the criminals. It's his official form. So that is a Mahavishnu form. And when the father comes at home, he's in his friendly form. He may become a Ghoda with his kid. That is his Krishna form, loving form. So it's the same entity. How he chooses to take avatar through his own avatar or through his expansion or in his original form, he only knows. So those questions can only be answered when we become God realized. But let's for now understand, our scriptures explain that most avatars in Dwapar happen through Vishnu, his own expansion. But sometimes he chooses to come as his own as well. What is the difference between the two? I don't know. Maybe he disperses Brajras in some avatars and some not so much Brajras. There might be some subtle differences around it. I don't know that, but this is what our scriptures say. And then when it comes to worshipping Lakshmi Narayan in puja that you talk about, I don't know which Vishnu you worship, because Vishnu is Vishnu, right? Whichever expansion, God will not discriminate that, you did the Kshirodakshay Vishnu, by the way, you should have done the Garbhodakshay Vishnu or the Mahavishnu. For you, the sentiments is towards the Vishnu, that divine aspect of God, who's the maintainer of this entire creation. That sentiment should suffice. Now, which one is this? If I were to guess that, but I can confirm that, I would say it's Kshirodakshay Vishnu, the one who's lying on the Kshir Sagar, right? Lakshmi is pressing his feet. That is Lakshmi Narayan, the Kshirodakshay Vishnu, because he's the Paramatma aspect as well with 4 arms, the Narayan form of God, which resides in Vaikuntha as well. Okay, so that is the one we typically worship as Lakshmi Narayan in our puja. And that is the one which has the four-armed form as well. Because Paramatma has Roop but not Leelas. You will not hear about any Leelas of Narayan. You would hear about Leelas of Krishna. And then in one of, during Maharas as well, in one of the Leelas, Krishna appeared as in his Narayan form in front of gopis. And gopis started making fun of him, who is the one with this shank and this and that, okay, because they are used to Krishna's personal form, the loving form. And then Radharani came in front of that Narayan avatar and two of his arms vanished because he cannot maintain his official form in front of Radha. That is the power of his Shakti. So anyways, these are all Leelas, but I think Lakshmi Narayan is Kshirodakshay Vishnu, and then Krishna and Vishnu both are same. Vishnu is his official form, and the avatars can happen through his official form or through his original form. That those kind of Leelas can happen as well. I hope I answered your questions.
Okay. There is a question from
So
Ajit.
please fill out the feedback tracker for today's session. And if you have any more questions, please fill it out because we'll continue on this discussion on time. And if you think there are some more questions, fill it out in the feedback tracker, which might have been posted, and we can take it up tomorrow. Yes, Sandhya.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Yes, Rajiv.
Nitinji, I have asked this question in the initial series, start of the series, that what was the purpose of creation by the God? And there is a very good song that काहे दुनिया बनाने वाले काहे को दुनिया बनाई, काहे को मिट्टी के पुतले बनाए. So, there is a one line also.
Yeah.
So we consider ourselves as an intelligent guy, but in whole universe, if you see the big picture, we are part of the system. So what was the purpose of this creation?
We'll talk about this purpose tomorrow. Let's talk about it, but let me give some food of thought to everybody before we turn it up for tomorrow's session. I give you two options. Okay, just think about this, everybody individually, and then we can take this discussion forward. It took me, and it's a very good question, Ajit. I've struggled with this question for a while. I always used to think, why, God is self-entitled, Atma Ram, Atma Krida, Atma Rati. Why create all this and make us go through all this grind and stuff like that, right? So technically, actually, nobody created anybody, but we'll not get into that. But let me give you two choices. One choice is, Ajitji, you continue to sleep, deep sleep. Okay, not even dreaming, deep sleep, where you don't even know you are Ajitji. So you are in some kind of a bliss, but you are not even aware that you are in bliss. So basically, you don't have any existence. Second, you wake up, you have an opportunity to feel or experience the bliss of God. Will you have that opportunity, rather have that opportunity, okay, lifetime after lifetime, or be in a state where you don't even know you exist? Deep sleep or an opportunity to become better and experience the bliss of God itself one day. These are the two choices that you have, and it's a question for everybody. Let's have a good philosophical discussion around it tomorrow while we discuss the concept of time. Maybe tomorrow or day after. Tomorrow, I know we have a hard stop, but think about it. I think it's a question we all need to think deeply about. Do we want to be sleeping for eternity where we don't even have an option, choice, and don't even know that we are sleeping? Or do we want to have an opportunity where we can become like God? Okay. So that might help us put things in perspective tomorrow. Okay, any more questions?
I have a question. I mean, I think I missed this, but for this 51-year calculation, what is the start point?
Start point is when the Dvitiya Purush came from the Garbhodikshai Vishnu for this particular creation. That is when the Brahmaji's age would start, right? Brahmaji came from the navel of Vishnu, and then when the clock starts ticking for him.
Okay, and I had one more question. So we are totally rejecting the Big Bang hypothesis. In our scripture,
not rejecting, but basically explaining it in more detail. Okay, how the manifestation came about, right? If you look at it, when I say glanced at Prakriti, through Prakriti came Mahan. Mahan is also a Tattva. Through Mahan came Ahankar. That also expanded. Through Ahankar came Panch Tanmatras, and that Tanmatras, Panch Mahabhut, and all that creation came about. So if you look at it, everything is rolling up into a particular thing only. It's not necessarily an explosion, but there is a method to that madness, is all I'm trying to say here. Yeah, go ahead. You complete your question.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. So, like, do we have like a very well described method that you are referring to
Yeah,
that we could
Brahmananda Valli talks about how did Brahmaji went about this creation, right? He created 5 elements. Then there is a 3 by 3 matrix and a lot of stuff. It actually gets into the depth of this creation, how Brahmaji architected this whole thing. So it actually talks about it. If you want to get into detail, you can start reading Brahmananda Valli or something like that. I would say if you have time, read Bhagavatam.
No, I'm
That's
seeing it from the perspective of scientists who are working on understanding how creation came about.
right.
Would it help for them to learn it from Brahman and
Yes.
Bali and then try and understand the mechanisms by which things would have come about in
Right. And that's what Swamiji says. If you take this top-down knowledge, scientists take that, then the acceleration of bottom-up would be much faster. Right. What Einstein said, that everything is an energy, mass and energy are interconvertible. Lord Krishna had said 5,000 years ago, and he has gone. We have science so far have not reached out to the level of, Earth. The particles can be converted into energy, but the Earth, the other elements, the fire, the water, the sky, everything is an energy. And Lord Krishna goes on to even say our mind is an energy, our intellect is also an energy. So he says everything is an energy. So yes, if you take the words of scriptures as a truth and work towards it, the acceleration of science could be much faster, is what Swamiji says as well, when you take it as a truth. So yes, to your point, that might be a way to accelerate our understanding around some of these deeper secrets of creation.
That's it.
Good
Yeah.
question.
Should I make quick announcements? Like there's not much.
Let's make announcements, and then we have a little bit of time for a devotional segment as well today because we don't have a hard stop. So let's make the announcements, and then if you have further questions, please put it in the feedback tracker. So officially we have already ended the philosophical discussion part of it, but we move to our devotional segment, and then you're welcome to stay back for a few chantings that we would do as part of our devotional segment. So yes, let's complete our announcements.
Yeah, so we in the US we have Swamiji's tour going on, and he just concluded, I guess, the West Coast retreat, and now we have family camp coming up, which is like the biggest retreat in the US that happens once in a year. So whoever are in US, they are highly encouraged to consider attending this, and others who are not in US and would like to attend can also attend it virtually. Soon, I guess that virtual registration link will open up. So do look out for that. Apart from that, we have a feedback tracker for the class. So please fill that out. You can put your questions, comments, feedback over there. Nitinji will look into it and he'll get back to you. That's it. I've posted the links. I'll repost them again.
All right. Thank you, Sandhya. So with that, we move to our devotion. Anybody who's interested in chanting, reciting something, Seema, I think you are all set to recite today. No, not today.
Yes, Laddu, go.
Yeah, we are waiting with bated breath for your recitation. And then who else? And see, once somebody raises hands, a few more hands will come up. Shri Ramya. All right.
Awesome. Swadrut, maybe.
Swadrut and Shri Ramya, go ahead. You have time to think about it. No pressure though. No pressure, Monica ji, whatsoever. Let's see, 3 hands you have gotten already. Yes, Swadrut.
Shantakaram Bhujigaseram Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadaram Gagana Salusham Meghavarnam Subhangam Lakshmikantam Kamalanayanam Yogyanugamyam Vande Vishnu Bhavabhayaharam Sarvalokaikanagam. Radhe
Radhe Radhe, loved it, Swadrut. You are amazing. The way you recite and now chant as well, loved it.
Thank
and that
you.
was a very beautiful description of God. See, this is the another beauty of our scriptures. No matter which tradition you follow, nowhere you have description of God. How does God look like? Right? What Swadrut said, he holds this, his four-armed form, and so our scriptures go to the extent of defining and saying this is how God looks like. Nobody in any tradition, nobody goes to that extent of describing how God looks like. Okay, so that is, we are sitting on a gold mine from that standpoint. Thank you, Swadrut, for reciting that beautifully. Thank you very much. All right. Yes, Manishi, Nivan is also going to sing something today. Nice. Let's,
Also,
Manishi, we'll do
yeah,
it in a
Manish.
sequence then. Manishi, please go ahead.
Yes, Manishi, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, am I audible?
Hi. Yes.
Okay. So my dad sent me this video over WhatsApp and I really loved it. So I wrote down some of the lyrics and wanted to sing it. Hope you guys like it. भगवान मेरी नैया उस पार लगा देना, अब तक तो निभाया है, आगे भी निभा देना। हम दीन दुखी निर्बल नितना पर है प्रतिपल, यह सोच दर्श दोगे प्रभु आज नहीं तो कल, जो बाग लगाया है फूलों से सजा देना, भगवान मेरी नैया उस पार लगा देना, अब तक तो निभाया है, आगे भी निभा देना, भगवान मेरी नैया उस पार लगा देना। तुम शांति सुधा कर हो, तुम ज्ञान दिवाकर हो, मनहंस चुगे मोती, तुम मान सरोवर हो, दो बूंद सुधा रस की हमको भी पिला देना, भगवान मेरी नैया उस पार लगा देना, अब तक तो निभाया है, आगे भी निभा देना, भगवान मेरी नैया उस पार लगा देना। Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Manishi. Radhe Radhe. Very nice. I mean, your voice was a little feeble, but we could get the import of it. I think Bhagwan
Oh,
Meri
sorry.
Us Par Laga Dena. So that is
Yeah.
very, and that is where that 99% concept that the Ashini spoke about. If your Naya is not 100% par, you are still in the danger of, continuing to float around here and there. So 99.9 is also not good enough there. Thank you so much, Manishi. I see a few new hands today, so let's give them a chance. Surendra, okay, Kanchanji. I think Kanchanji is the first one, and then Nivan is a new one. So let's hear Kanchanji. Are you going to, and then Surendraji will come back to you, Surendraji and Monica ji. Kanchanji, you wanted to sing today? I think we're here seeing you for the first time. If you can turn your video, that will be even better.
Yeah, I was there. I've been attending your sessions. Radhe Radhe, everyone.
You're going to make your debut and sing today?
I think I did it last time once.
Okay, pardon my memory. See, when you grow old, this is one of the things you start losing memory. So, where are you joining us from?
Oregon, Portland, Oregon.
Okay, yeah, I think now I'll remember you. Don't worry.
Okay, I want to sing a song. It's about Vithu Mauli.
Sure.
देव माझा विठू सावळा, देव माझा विठू सावळा, माळत्याची माझी या गळा, माळत्याची माझी या गळा, देव माझा विठू सावळा, देव माझा विठू सावळा, विठुरा हे पंढरपुरी, वैकुंठ से हे भुवरी, विठुरा हे पंढरपुरी, वैकुंठ से हे भुवरी, देवीच्या काठी जुळे भक्तीचा मळा, देवीच्या काठी जुळे भक्तीचा मळा, देव माझा विठू सावळा, देव माझा विठू सावळा, गाळत्याची माझी या गळा, माळत्याची माझी या गळा, देव माझा विठू सावळा. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Kanchanji. Very melodious, very beautifully sung. You certainly raised the melody and the spiritual quotient of Portland today. So thank you so much for that. Loved it. Okay, Nivan is going to make his debut today here. Go ahead, Nivan.
Yes, Radhe Radhe Nivan.
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Govinda Radhe.
Wow, Nivan. Who did you learn it from?
Myself.
Oh, myself. Understood. Wonderful. So you get best debut award today. You get the best debut award today, Nivan. Well done. Good. Good job. All right. Yes, Surendra ji. Let's take Surendra ji and then Monica ji.
Very, very well done, Nivan. Very nice.
So
We
Nivan,
should learn Sur Lay Tal from him.
yeah, you get a lot of hearts, Nivan. Very nice. Surendra ji.
Surendra ji, Radhe Radhe.
थैंक यू प्रभु, थैंक यू वेरी मच. मुझे तो कुछ आता नहीं है, मैं जितनी बात बोलूंगा क्योंकि मोनिका जी फाइनल होने वाली है तो अच्छा लगता है, मेलोडियस हो रहेगा उनका काम. सुर की गति में क्या जानूं, एक भजन कर ना जानूं, अर्थ भजन का भी अति गहरा, उसको भी मैं क्या जानूं, एक भजन कर ना जानूं, हरि 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 कर ना जानूं, एक भजन कर ना जानूं. राधे राधे प्रभु. थैंक यू.
Radhe Radhe Surendra ji. Very nice. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. Loved it. Thank you. Monica ji, all yours then.
Radhe Radhe Monica ji.
Radhe Radhe Sandhya, Radhe Radhe everybody. I have someone new today. That's my Mama ji, and then he's come from Chicago. And I have my Mami ji also. And to our surprise, Mami ji was attending JK Yoga since 3 years.
Oh.
And then she got introduced to Devi ji yesterday in person. And then जब हम घर पे आए और उन्होंने बात की तो मैंने कहा कि अरे वो in person भी कराते हैं और आप इतने टाइम से जुड़े हुए पता ही नहीं है. Then I was talking to Mami ji, and Mami ji was telling me that she was attending the Sunday satsang also regularly. So and she was telling me that it's all blissful and everything. मैंने कहा आपने मुझे वहाँ पे नाचते हुए नहीं देखा अभी तक. But then अभी पता चल गया कि कितना strong connect है, right? So आज आपका पूरा भागवत गीता का पूरा सेशन सुना नितिन जी. It was
Pranam, pranam, sadar pranam, humble pranam to Mamaji and Mamiji from our side, and it's an honor to have you on our session.
Yeah,
we'd love to hear from you from time to time. Thank you so much. And Krishna के यहाँ पे कोई coincidence नहीं होता है, so you are getting all the connections, bridges here now.
Yes.
Very nice.
So नितिन जी आज भागवत गीता का 4.4 verse था. 4.4. So Mama ji recites shlokas also. वो सिखाते भी हैं actually. So
Sure.
would like to recite one.
Sure. Please go ahead.
Shall I recite the same one, the shloka 4?
Yes, please.
Arjuna Uvacha अपरं भवतो जन्म परै जन्म विवस्वतः कथमेतद्विजानीयान् त्वमादौ प्रोक्तवानिति.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Loved it. Thank you. Thank you. We'd love to hear your insights as well in our sessions, periodically. So it would be good to have more enriching discussion and get your insights as well. So thank you for joining. And thank you, Monica ji. You are getting so many of your friends and family to these sessions. So you've been our ambassador in that sense. Thank you very much for that.
ये ज्ञान ही ऐसा है नितिन जी, स्पिरिचुअल कमीशन भी तो है.
Spiritual commission is a great incentive. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Are you going to sing as well?
परसों के लिए भजन प्रिपेयर कर रही हूँ, परसों गाऊंगी.
Person. Yeah, that's fine. Perfectly okay. No worries. Thank you so much. Aparna ji, over to you.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Aparna ji, please go ahead.
Aparna ji, here.
Radhe Radhe, I will attempt this. I haven't. I'm going to turn the video off only. Then I can maybe try
No
to
worries.
sing. Thank
You're becoming conscious, then you can turn off your video. Although we are very, very hospitable people and friendly people. Yes, please go
Okay,
ahead.
I'm going to sing Pyaro Lage Nandlala.
Sure.
प्यारो लगे नंदलाला हमें तो बड़ो प्यारो लगे. प्यारो लगे नंदलाला हमें तो बड़ो प्यारो लगे. प्यारो लगे बड़ो प्यारो लगे. प्यारो लगे बड़ो प्यारो लगे. प्यारो लगे नंदलाला हमें तो बड़ो प्यारो लगे. शीश मुकुट और तिलक विराजे. शीश मुकुट और तिलक विराजे. गली बैजंती माला हमें तो बड़ो प्यारो लगे. छेल छबीलो रसिक रंगीलो. छेल छबीलो रसिक रंगीलो. मोहन मुरली वाला हमें तो बड़ो प्यारो लगे. प्यारो लगे बड़ो प्यारो लगे. एक ही धुन अब मीठी लागे. एक ही धुन अब मीठी लागे. मुरली धुन गोपाला हमें तो बड़ो प्यारो लगे. प्यारो लगे बड़ो प्यारो लगे. प्यारो लगे बड़ो प्यारो लगे. प्यारो लगे नंद लाला हमें तो बड़ो प्यारो लगे. रसिया बिनु सब फीको लागे. रसिया बिनु सब फीको लागे. 56 भोग रसाला हमें तो बड़ो प्यारो लगे. प्यारो लगे नंद लाला हमें तो बड़ो प्यारो लगे. मेरो सर्वस एक प्राण धन. मेरो सर्वस एक प्राण धन. एक ही दीन दयाला हमें तो बड़ो प्यारो लगे. प्यारो लगे बड़ो प्यारो लगे. प्यारो लगे बड़ो प्यारो लगे. प्यारो लगे नंद लाला हमें तो बड़ो प्यारो लगे. लगन शाम पिया की जब लागी. लगन शाम पिया की जब लागी. मिट गई सब जंजाला हमें तो बड़ो प्यारो लगे. प्यारो लगे नंद लाला हमें तो बड़ो प्यारो लगे. प्यारो लगे नंद लाला हमें तो बड़ो प्यारो लगे. थैंक यू. राधे राधे.
Aparna ji, amazing. I think you've started singing bhajans now.
I'm so
And
sorry. I'm
sometimes
not. I'm just trying to sing, but I'm
you
not good at it.
turned off your video, but we could still see you. Okay, it was so nice. Wonderful, loved it. See, that is the beauty of Krishna avatar, right? If Pyaro Lage Vishnu, it's very difficult to say that, right? When he's in official form, only because he became Nandalala that you can sing like that or visualize him like that, right? So that is the beauty of God's avatars, and when he descends down as Krishna and his loving form. And that is essentially the difference between Krishna and Vishnu, although both are same, right? But still the ras, like you bhavfully sang, oozes only when he takes on an avatar like that and exhibits his Bal Leela, and then Leela Madhuris, basically. Great. So thank you again for a wonderful participation and your engagement. Tomorrow we will continue. We'll go to the other end of the spectrum, the smallest unit of time, and what is the significance of time in our spiritual journey. We'll look forward to another engaging discussion around that. So thank you again. Radhe Radhe. Have a wonderful rest of your day and great rest of your evening. Say Radhe Radhe to everyone.
Radhe Radhe, Nevan.
I think he's also going to sing now, so we'll prepare.
Okay.
Not now, but tomorrow something. You're a good singer, Nevan, so you can sing more. Okay. Radhe Radhe. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah,
Good night.
Radhe Radhe.
Good night.